Welcome to This Month in Type 1 Research. Please check the description for the original sources, and all content is general in nature and should not be considered medical advice. Okay, so let's dive into this month's research on type 1 diabetes. Thousands of articles on PubMed every year.
It really is remarkable
It's a lot to keep up with.
how much attention type 1 diabetes is receiving
Yeah.
from the scientific community. This volume of research, I think, speaks volumes about the complexity of the condition and the ongoing quest for, better treatments and ultimately a cure.
That's why we do this deep dive.
It's
We're going to distill all of that down
Yeah.
to the most fascinating
absolutely.
and relevant findings for you.
We'll sift through the data,
Yeah.
highlight those studies that have the potential to impact, your understanding of type 1 diabetes and perhaps even influence, how you approach your own care or the care of a loved one.
Speaking of care, one study really caught my eye because it focuses on a critical but often overlooked aspect of type 1 management: school care.
Ah, yes. The study on school nurses' experiences caring for students with type 1 diabetes. What's fascinating here is that it reveals a gap between the confidence school nurses feel in basic care and the challenges they face with newer technologies.
They felt pretty good about, handling things like low blood sugar. But when it comes to insulin pumps, CGMs, and those automated insulin delivery systems,
Right.
that's where they felt less prepared.
Yeah.
And think about it, so many kids are using these technologies now.
This raises an important question.
Yeah.
What specific training and support do school nurses need
Right.
to effectively manage these increasingly complex devices? Because, let's be honest, their expertise has a direct impact on the well-being of these young people during a significant portion of their day.
So this study suggests that you might need to be prepared to have conversations with your child's school nurse about these specific technologies.
Mhm.
Make sure they're comfortable with your child's devices and know how to handle any issues that might come up.
Excellent point. It's about proactive communication and collaboration to ensure the best possible care for your child in the school setting.
Okay, now for something that always gets me maybe a little too excited, prevention. There was a study this month that reviewed the current state of type 1 diabetes prevention.
Uh-huh.
And let me tell you, I got a little swept up in the possibilities before I fully digested the findings.
I understand the enthusiasm.
Yeah.
The idea of preventing this condition altogether is incredibly appealing.
Oh, totally.
But as the study points out, while we're making strides in identifying individuals at risk and exploring potential interventions, we're not quite at the point of true prevention yet.
So what does this mean for you? Well, it's a reminder to stay informed about the latest research, but also to be cautious of any claims that suggest we've already cracked the code of prevention.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about balancing hope with realistic expectations.
Now, while we can't fully prevent type 1 diabetes, yet we are getting better at supporting people through different stages of life. There was a study this month that describes a model for transitioning young people with type 1 diabetes to adult care at the McGill University Health Center.
Yeah.
Why is this transition so important?
Well, think about what's happening during this period. Young adults are navigating new responsibilities, increased independence, and often a shift in priorities. All of this can impact how they manage their diabetes, and unfortunately, we often see a decline in engagement with care during this time.
So this model is designed to sort of smooth out that transition and prevent that drop-off in care.
Precisely. It's about creating a structured and supportive pathway to ensure young people feel empowered to manage their diabetes as they move into adulthood. Instead of an abrupt transfer from pediatric to adult care, it involves a series of steps designed to foster a sense of ownership and independence.
So it's not just about switching doctors. It's about equipping these young adults with the skills and confidence they need to navigate this new phase of their lives with diabetes.
Yeah.
What does this model look like in practice?
It might start with joint appointments with both pediatric and adult endocrinologists, gradually increasing the involvement of the adult care team while phasing out the pediatric team.
Okay.
It also incorporates education, emotional support, and practical strategies to help young people integrate diabetes care into their evolving lives.
This study is a great example of how research is moving beyond just focusing on blood sugar numbers. And that's a theme we're seeing throughout this month's research. It's about recognizing that type 1 diabetes is a complex condition that affects so much more than just glucose levels.
Absolutely. We're seeing a growing recognition that mental health, cardiovascular health, and overall quality of life are all intertwined with diabetes management.
Yeah.
And this month's research dives deep into these interconnected aspects.
I love this part. It really highlights how much our understanding of type 1 diabetes is evolving. For example, one study found that men with type 1 diabetes may have an increased risk of depression. That's something we need to be more aware of both as individuals and as a community.
It's a crucial finding that underscores the need for integrated care. We
Yeah.
need to be proactive in screening for depression, especially in men with type 1 diabetes, and ensuring that mental health resources are readily available and accessible.
And it's not just about mental health.
Right.
Another study looked at the relationship between residual insulin secretion, that's the body's own insulin production, and something called subclinical cardiovascular risk in young adults.
Yeah.
I have to admit, the whole concept of subclinical risk was new to me.
It essentially refers to early signs of cardiovascular damage that might not be detected through routine checkups.
Okay.
They're subtle changes that, if left unaddressed, can progress over time and lead to more serious cardiovascular issues later in life.
So even if someone seems healthy on the surface, there could be these underlying issues developing.
Yeah.
That's a little unsettling, to be honest.
It does raise concerns, but it also empowers us to take a more proactive approach.
Okay.
This study suggests that we might need to be advocating for more comprehensive cardiovascular screening, even in younger individuals with type 1 diabetes, especially if they still produce some insulin. It's about catching those early warning signs and intervening before more serious problems arise.
That's a really important message.
Yeah.
Early detection is key, even when it comes to things that might not be causing obvious symptoms.
Exactly. It emphasizes the importance of a long-term perspective on health and well-being.
And that long-term perspective is also reflected in the research on quality of life.
Right.
We're seeing studies that go beyond just asking, are your blood sugars in range? They're digging deeper into how different management approaches impact how people feel,
Exactly.
how they sleep,
Yeah.
how they cope with the daily challenges of living with type 1 diabetes.
Precisely. It's about acknowledging that diabetes management isn't just about numbers, it's about living a full and meaningful life.
Right.
And those studies on automated insulin delivery systems are a great example of how technology can be used to enhance quality of life.
Oh, yeah. Those studies were fascinating. They're looking at how these systems, which basically act like an artificial pancreas, impact not only blood sugar control, but also things like sleep quality, stress levels, and even the well-being of caregivers.
And what's really interesting is that these studies are finding positive outcomes for both individuals with type 1 diabetes and their families.
That's great.
For example, one study looked at the experiences of caregivers of very young children
Okay.
using the Omnipod 5 system, which is a type of automated insulin delivery.
How did they find that?
The caregivers reported a significant reduction in their diabetes-related stress and anxiety, increased confidence in managing their child's condition, and even improvements in their own sleep quality.
So it's not just the person with diabetes who benefits from these advancements, it's their whole support system.
Exactly. These technologies have the potential to transform the entire family dynamic and improve overall well-being for everyone involved.
This is why I find this area of research so compelling.
Yeah.
It's not just about treating a disease. It's about understanding the broader impact of that disease on individuals, families, and communities.
It's a holistic perspective that recognizes the interconnectedness of physical health, mental well-being, and social support.
And this month's research dives into even more fascinating areas, exploring the impact of socioeconomic factors, the role of technology, and even the potential for reversing type 1 diabetes using stem cells.
There's so much to unpack, and we'll delve deeper into each of these themes in the next part of our deep dive. But before we move on, I'd like to highlight one more study that caught my attention.
Okay, what is it?
It's a study that looked at the link between regional deprivation indices, essentially a measure of socioeconomic disadvantage, and the rate of diabetic ketoacidosis, or DKA, at diagnosis in children across 6 different countries.
Wow, that sounds like a really important area of research.
Yeah.
What did they find?
The study found that children living in more deprived areas were more likely to be diagnosed with DKA, which is a serious and potentially life-threatening complication of diabetes.
That's concerning. Why do you think that is?
There are probably a few things at play here. Socioeconomic disadvantage can impact access to healthcare, including preventative screenings and early interventions.
So these children might be diagnosed later
Right.
when the disease has progressed further and they're already experiencing complications.
That's one possibility. But it's not just about access to healthcare.
Right.
Socioeconomic factors can also influence things like nutrition stress levels and exposure to environmental triggers, all of which can contribute to the development and progression of type 1 diabetes.
This study is a stark reminder that social determinants of health have a profound impact, and those impacts extend to chronic conditions like type 1 diabetes.
Absolutely. It underscores the need for equitable access to care resources and support systems to ensure that all individuals have the opportunity to manage their diabetes effectively and live healthy, fulfilling lives.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive. We've explored research on school care, the transition to adulthood, the broader impact of type 1 diabetes, and even touched on the role of socioeconomic factors.
Right.
And trust me, there's still so much more to uncover.
In the next part of our deep dive, we'll delve deeper into the world of technology and explore the potential of cutting-edge advancements, like automated insulin delivery systems and artificial intelligence.
And we'll wrap things up by discussing the most exciting frontier of all, the potential for reversing type 1 diabetes using stem cells. So stay tuned for part 2, where we'll continue to explore the fascinating and ever-evolving world of type 1 diabetes research.
We'll be right back after a short break. Welcome back to our deep dive into this month's type 1 diabetes research.
We've already covered so much ground,
Yeah.
but there's still a lot more to explore.
Let's jump right back in with that conversation about technology.
Okay.
It's truly amazing to see how rapidly this field is evolving and how these advancements are shaping the landscape of diabetes care.
I'm particularly interested in the research on continuous glucose monitors, or CGMs.
Yeah.
They seem to be becoming more and more common,
Mm.
and for good reason.
Indeed, CGMs offer continuous insights into blood sugar levels, eliminating the need for those frequent finger pricks.
But I know there are different types of CGMs out there.
Right.
There was a study that compared real-time CGMs with flash glucose monitoring.
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference and which one is better?
The key difference lies in how the data is accessed.
Okay.
Real-time CGMs continuously transmit glucose data to a receiver or a smartphone, providing constant updates on blood sugar trends.
Okay.
Flash glucose monitoring, on the other hand, requires the user to scan a sensor to obtain a glucose reading.
So real-time CGMs give you that constant stream of information,
Right.
while flash glucose monitoring is more on demand.
Ex
But what about the impact on blood sugar control? Did the study show a clear winner?
The study actually found that both types of CGMs were effective in improving blood sugar control.
Okay,
But real-time CGMs did lead to greater reductions in HbA1c levels.
that makes sense. More frequent data means you can fine-tune your insulin dosages and lifestyle choices more effectively.
Precisely. And for some individuals, that constant stream of data can provide a sense of security and peace of mind, knowing that they're staying on top of their blood sugar levels.
But let's be real, technology can be expensive.
Yeah.
Are real-time CGMs significantly more costly than flash glucose monitoring?
Typically they are.
Okay.
And unfortunately, that cost can be a barrier for some individuals, which raises concerns about equitable access to these advancements.
Right.
We need to ensure that everyone who could benefit from these technologies has the opportunity to use them regardless of their financial situation.
That's like we were saying earlier about the impact of socioeconomic factors.
Exactly.
The latest and greatest technology doesn't help if people can't afford it.
Exactly. Advocacy and policy efforts aimed at making these technologies more accessible are crucial.
Okay, so we've talked about CGMs, but there's another technological advancement that I'm really excited about. Automated insulin delivery systems.
Ah, yes. These are systems that combine a CGM with an insulin pump, using algorithms to automatically adjust insulin delivery based on those real-time glucose readings.
So it's like having an artificial pancreas taking over some of the work of managing diabetes.
In a way, yes.
Yeah.
While not a cure, these systems can significantly reduce the burden of diabetes management. They automate many of the tasks that individuals previously had to do manually, like calculating insulin doses and constantly monitoring blood sugar levels.
And there's a ton of research on these systems this month, right? What were some of the highlights?
Multiple studies demonstrating that these systems are effective in improving blood sugar control, reducing the risk of hypoglycemia, and most importantly, improving quality of life.
I remember one study focused on the MiniMed 780G system.
Mm-hmm.
What did they find?
That study found that the MiniMed 780G system led to significant improvements in time in range,
Okay.
a key metric of blood sugar control.
Okay.
It also reduced the time spent in hypoglycemia, which is a major win.
But you mentioned quality of life, too.
Right.
What kind of impacts are we talking about?
Several studies explored the psychosocial benefits of automated insulin delivery. They found that these systems led to reduced diabetes distress,
Okay.
increased confidence in managing the condition,
Yeah.
and even improvements in sleep quality.
That makes sense. If you're not constantly worrying about your blood sugar levels,
Right.
especially at night, you're bound to sleep better.
Yeah.
And feeling more confident and less stressed about your diabetes can have a ripple effect on your overall well-being.
Absolutely. These systems can liberate individuals from the constant burden of diabetes management, freeing up mental and emotional energy to focus on other aspects of life.
But with any new technology, there are always challenges.
Yeah.
What are some of the limitations or areas for improvement when it comes to automated insulin delivery systems?
Some of the ongoing challenges include the need for more refined algorithms that can predict glucose fluctuations even more accurately. We also need to address the cost and accessibility issues we discussed earlier. And of course, like any technology, there's always the potential for technical glitches or malfunctions.
It sounds like there's still work to be done,
Right.
but the progress being made is truly impressive.
Indeed, these systems represent a major step forward in diabetes care, offering a glimpse into a future where technology plays an even more prominent role in improving the lives of individuals with type 1 diabetes.
Okay, we've covered CGM's automated insulin delivery systems. What other technological advancements are researchers exploring?
One area that's gaining a lot of traction is the use of artificial intelligence, or AI, in diabetes management.
I've been hearing a lot about AI lately.
Yeah,
What are some of the potential applications in diabetes care?
the possibilities are vast. For example, researchers are developing AI algorithms that can analyze CGM data and predict glucose fluctuations with incredible accuracy. This could allow for more personalized and precise adjustments to insulin dosages, potentially preventing highs and lows before they even happen.
That's incredible. It's like having a virtual diabetes detective constantly analyzing your data and anticipating your needs.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
And AI can also be used to develop personalized diabetes management plans, taking into account individual factors like lifestyle genetics and responses to different treatments.
So instead of relying on generic guidelines, you could have a system that tailors your diabetes care to your specific needs and preferences.
Exactly. It's about leveraging the power of AI to move towards a more individualized and precise approach to diabetes management.
And who knows what other applications will emerge as AI technology continues to advance.
The possibilities are truly exciting. AI has the potential to revolutionize not only how we manage diabetes, but also how we approach research, drug discovery, and even prevention.
Speaking of prevention,
Yeah.
didn't we touch upon a study that focused on a culturally adapted diabetes education program for adolescents in Kuwait?
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
That study highlighted the importance of cultural sensitivity in diabetes education and intervention programs.
Yeah.
It demonstrated that adapting existing programs to fit the specific needs and cultural beliefs of the target population can lead to better outcomes.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. We need to be mindful of cultural differences and develop programs that resonate with the people we're trying to reach.
Precisely. It's about meeting people where they are and providing them with the tools and knowledge they need to manage their diabetes effectively within their own cultural context.
Okay, so we've talked about technology. We've touched on the importance of cultural sensitivity. What other areas of research are making waves this month?
Well, one study explored the impact of exercise and physical activity on blood sugar control in individuals with type 1 diabetes.
That's a topic that's relevant for everyone, but especially for people with type 1 diabetes. Finding that balance between staying active and managing blood sugar can be tricky.
Absolutely. And this study provided some valuable insights. For example, it highlighted the importance of adjusting insulin dosages and carbohydrate intake before and after exercise
Okay.
to minimize the risk of hypoglycemia.
That's practical advice that people can actually use.
Yeah.
It's not just about saying exercise is good for you.
Right.
It's about providing specific strategies to make exercise safer and more enjoyable.
Exactly. And another study emphasized the benefits of using continuous glucose monitoring during exercise.
Oh, interesting.
Having that real-time feedback on blood sugar levels allows individuals to make adjustments as needed, preventing both highs and lows.
It's like having a personal blood sugar coach guiding you through your workout.
And there was even a study that looked at the impact of something as simple as hand grip strength on cardiometabolic risk in youth with type 1 diabetes.
And grip strength. I never would have thought that would be related to diabetes.
It might seem surprising.
Yeah.
But hand grip strength can actually be a good indicator of overall muscle mass and strength, which are important factors in metabolic health.
Okay.
The study found that weaker hand grip strength was associated with a higher cardiometabolic risk in young people with type 1 diabetes.
So it's another piece of the puzzle,
Uh-huh.
another factor to consider in the overall picture of diabetes management.
Precisely. It reinforces the idea that a holistic approach, one that addresses multiple aspects of health and well-being, is crucial.
It's all about those small steps, those seemingly insignificant things that can actually make a big difference in the long run.
And speaking of small steps, there was another study that caught my eye.
Okay.
It looked at the impact of impaired awareness of hypoglycemia in individuals with type 1 diabetes.
Hypoglycemia unawareness. That sounds a little scary. What exactly does that mean?
It's a condition where people with diabetes lose the ability to recognize the early warning signs of low blood sugar. And it can be dangerous because if you don't catch those lows early on, they can lead to serious complications.
So it's like their body's internal alarm system for low blood sugar is malfunctioning.
Exactly.
Wow.
And this study found that residual C-peptide, which is a marker of the body's own insulin production, was associated with a higher risk of impaired awareness of hypoglycemia.
So even if you're still producing some insulin, you could be at risk for this condition. That's important information for people to know.
It is, and it highlights the complexity of type 1 diabetes, even for those who retain some beta cell function.
What can people do if they're concerned about hypoglycemia unawareness?
The first step is awareness.
Okay.
If you have type 1 diabetes, talk to your healthcare provider about this condition and whether you might be at risk.
Yeah.
There are steps you can take to mitigate the risk, like frequent blood sugar monitoring, especially during times when lows are more likely to occur.
So it's about being vigilant and proactive.
Exactly. And in some cases, adjusting insulin dosages or switching to a different type of insulin might be necessary.
Okay. I think we've covered just about every major theme from this month's research.
Yeah.
Except for the most exciting one of all.
You're talking about stem cells, right?
Yes. The potential for actually reversing type 1 diabetes using stem cells.
Right.
That's what I'm most eager to discuss.
Let's dive into that fascinating frontier in the next part of our deep dive.
We'll be back. Welcome back to the deep dive. Are you ready to talk about the future of type 1 diabetes research?
Absolutely. This is where things get really exciting.
Yeah.
We've seen how research is evolving to encompass a more holistic and personalized approach to care. But now let's delve into the cutting edge. Stem cells.
This is the stuff that makes you go, whoa.
Right.
The idea of potentially reversing type 1 diabetes,
Yeah.
not just managing it, is mind-blowing.
It is.
But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, can you give us a quick breakdown of what stem cells are and why they hold so much promise for treating this condition?
Stem cells are essentially the body's master cells. They have this remarkable ability to develop into different types of cells, like the building blocks for all the specialized cells in our bodies.
So how does this apply to type 1 diabetes specifically?
Mm-hmm.
I know it has something to do with those insulin-producing beta cells that are destroyed by the immune system.
Exactly. In type 1 diabetes, the body's own immune system mistakenly attacks and destroys the beta cells in the pancreas,
Right.
which are responsible for producing insulin.
Right.
This leaves the body unable to regulate blood sugar levels effectively.
And that's why people with type 1 diabetes rely on insulin injections or pumps to manage their condition.
Precisely. Now, the idea behind stem cell therapy is to use these master cells to create new beta cells that can replace the ones that have been lost.
So they're replenishing the body's supply of insulin-producing cells.
You could say that. The goal is to restore the body's natural ability to regulate blood sugar, potentially eliminating the need for external insulin.
That's incredible. What does this look like in practice? Is there a specific type of stem cell that's used for this?
The study we're discussing today focused on a type of stem cell called pluripotent stem cells.
Okay.
These are cells that have the potential to become any cell in the body,
Wow.
making them incredibly versatile.
They're like cellular chameleons.
I like that.
So how do researchers actually get these stem cells to transform into those precious beta cells?
It's a complex process
Yeah.
that involves exposing the stem cells to specific growth factors and signaling molecules. These act like instructions guiding the stem cells to differentiate into beta cells.
So they're basically coaxing these stem cells into becoming the cells they need to treat diabetes.
Exactly. And in this particular study, researchers were able to successfully generate insulin-producing beta cells from these pluripotent stem cells in a lab setting.
Okay.
They then transplanted these newly created cells into mice that had been engineered to have type 1 diabetes.
And what happened? Did it work?
The results were incredibly promising. The transplanted beta cells were able to function properly, producing insulin and effectively regulating blood sugar levels in the mice.
That's amazing. Does this mean we're on the verge of a stem cell cure for humans?
Hold on, we're not quite there yet.
Okay.
While these findings are incredibly encouraging, it's important to remember that this was a study conducted in mice.
Right.
There are still many challenges to overcome before this type of therapy can be safely and effectively translated to humans.
What are some of those hurdles?
One major challenge is preventing the recipient's immune system from rejecting the transplanted cells. Remember, in type 1 diabetes, the immune system is attacking the body's own beta cells.
Right.
We need to ensure that these newly transplanted cells aren't also targeted.
So it's like we need to teach the immune system to recognize these new cells as friendly, not foreign.
Precisely. Researchers are exploring various strategies to achieve this, including using immunosuppressant drugs or encapsulating the cells in a protective barrier to shield them from the immune system's attack. We also need to refine the process of creating these beta cells from stem cells, making sure it's efficient, reliable, and produces safe and functional cells.
It sounds like there's still a long road ahead,
There is.
but the potential is definitely there.
Absolutely. This study is a major step forward and offers a glimpse into a future where type 1 diabetes might be a condition we can reverse, not just manage.
It's research like this that keeps hope alive for the millions of people living with type 1 diabetes. It's been an incredible journey exploring all this groundbreaking research with you today.
It's always a pleasure to delve into the world of type 1 diabetes research. The progress being made is remarkable, and I'm excited to see what the future holds.
Remember to like and subscribe, follow the link in the channel description to buy me a coffee, and thank you for listening.